Hi, everyone. Welcome to the Frequency Shift podcast with Alexis Gallagher and Susan Elliott. We are still on Joseph Murphy's The Power of Your Subconscious Mind. So today we are diving into chapter 8 and 9. At the beginning of 8, or the title of 8, is How to Get the Results That You Want. And so Joseph Murphy, he starts out, he says, not all prayers are answered. Everyone knows that. Skeptics see this evidence that prayer does not work. Then what they overlook is that for prayer to work, it must be used effectively with a clear understanding of the scientific basis. Only then can we know why a particular prayer was not effective and arrive at a practical method to make it more effective. What if you find your prayers are not answered as you would like? You must understand the principal reasons for such a failure. These are lack of confidence or too much effort. Many people block answers to their prayers by failing to fully comprehend the workings of their subconscious mind. When you know how your mind functions, you gain a measure of confidence. So, and again, we always remind you that when you are saying the prayer, when you're saying your affirmation, you have to feel it and you have to believe it. It's already done. It's already done. There's no other option. There's no other way. There's no other feeling, because you can say something over and over, but again, it comes back to that word praxis, meaning that your conscious, your subconscious, your body are all in alignment.
Right. And so it becomes a thought that you just release throughout the day that you're grateful for. And then this reminds me of Jose Silva, who was working with radios and frequencies and working on this type of material with his children. And he realized he made the connection between when he reduced the what is it, the not like the tension, but the in the energy, then there was a greater frequency flow. So again, just what Joseph Murphy's saying is when we're trying too hard to force something, we're really actually cutting off that good from flowing to us. And when we're in the most relaxed state we can be, and knowing that it's coming to us, that's when we really kind of collapse time and see these manifestations move into form quickly.
Yes, the great point, Alexis. Yeah, if you know it's coming, how do you feel and act? You're relaxed. If you already know it, then you don't have to worry about anything. So he goes on, consequently, if you use your subconscious mind negatively, it brings trouble, failure, and confusion. When you use it constructively, it brings guidance, freedom, and peace of mind. The right answer is inevitable when your thoughts are positive, constructive, and loving. From this, it is so obvious the only thing you have to do is, in order to overcome failure, is get your subconscious to accept your idea or request. Feel its reality now, and the law of your mind will do the rest. Turn over your request with faith and confidence, and your subconscious will take over and answer for you. So, and it takes practice to realize, becoming more aware of what exact mental state you're in, because it's so easy that we're conditioned with the subconscious that we start thinking these thoughts and accepting these thoughts of something negative, and then we start feeling that way, or we start blaming, complaining, or criticizing, which is one of the things my mentor strongly, or our mentor strongly advises trying to do for a day or even an hour. Try not to complain, blame, or criticize. And you're like, wow, I better just be quiet.
Yeah, yeah, that's
So
really good. It's a great reminder.
this is funny. In this part of the book, he's talking about how a homeowner, his furnace broke, and he called a repairman, and the repairman came and fixed it, and then he charged him $200. And so then the homeowner is outraged, because he said, "Why did you charge me for this? That part could only be $2. It could only be worth about $2, and you're charging me $200." And the repairman shrugged and he said, "I charged you only $2 for the broken part," he said. "That's what I had to pay for it." The homeowner waved the bill in his face. "$2," he yelled. "This is $200." "That's right," the repairman said. "The other 198 is for knowing what was wrong and how to fix it."
That's good.
Your subconscious mind is the master mechanic, the all wise one. It knows the ways and means of healing any organ of your body. Decree health, and your subconscious will establish it by but relaxation is key. Easy does it. And then he goes on, he says, use imagination, not willpower. Enlisting the powers of your subconscious mind is not like pushing against an obstacle. Working harder does not lead to better results. Willpower won't do it. Instead, visualize the end of the state of freedom it produces. You will find your intellect trying to get in the way, trying to find ways to solve the problem and impose those ways on your subconscious mind. So that would be your analytical mind, your conscious mind, trying to analyze and saying, arguing against it. And we all have that. We all do that. Finding reasons why something won't work.
Mm-hmm.
So he says to believe is to accept something is true and live in the state of it being. As you sustain this mood, you shall experience the joy of your answered prayer. He says imagination is your most powerful faculty. Imagine what is lovely and of good rapport. You are what you imagine yourself to be. Guidance comes as a feeling, an inner awareness, an overpowering hunch, whereby you know that you know. It is an inner sense of touch. Follow it. So then he gives these 3 steps to success in prayer. And he says, first, you acknowledge the problem. And 2, you turn the problem over to the subconscious mind, which alone knows the most effective solution or way out. And 3, you rest with a sense of deep conviction that it is done. So yeah, again, we know that your subconscious mind is most susceptible, like when you first wake up or right before you go to sleep. So if you go to sleep with the solution already in your mind, then your subconscious goes to work all night working on a solution.
Right. Yep. Yep. Again, just working with the powers, not forcing it and letting these laws work for you. It's really, we can achieve so much more so easily. We just got to change that programming. A lot of us believe we have to work hard for certain things that we want. And it's like, no, if you really step into the laws, you learn that you can allow these things to flow with you in an almost effortless way.
Yeah, Bob always said what you have to do in this work is understand the powers, understand your mind, and understand universal law, those
Mm-hmm.
2 things. And then you can start making progress in your personal development, which it sounds easy, universal laws and applying them and understanding, but learning about your mind and your conscious and your subconscious and how it all operates, there's no end to learning.
Mm-hmm.
Why you may get the opposite of what you pray for. Emily Coué was a celebrated French psychologist whose lectures gained him many admirers and followers in the United States. One of his important insights was this: when your desires and imagination are in conflict, your imagination invariably gains the day. He referred to this as the law of reverse effort. Suppose you were asked to walk along a narrow plank that was resting on the floor. You would easily do that without question. But now suppose the same plank were 20 feet up, stretching between 2 falls. Would you walk it? Could you? Probably not. Your desire to walk the length of the plank would come into conflict with your imagination. You would imagine yourself toppling off the plank and falling a long way to the ground. You might very much want to walk across the plank, but you fear falling would keep you from being able to do it. The more effort you put into conquering your imagination or suppressing it, the greater strength is given to the dominant idea of falling. So you can see how easy it is to, look at what could happen instead of look at what the good could be. What good
Mm-hmm.
thing can happen if I follow through on my goal. We're always kind of conditioned to look at the bad. What bad thing could happen? But
Right.
Bob always said, what good could come out of it? Focus on
Right.
that. So he's going on, he's talking about the conflict of desire and imagination, that it must be resolved. When there is no longer any quarrel between different parts of your mind, your prayer will be answered. The two agreeing may also be represented as you and your desire, your thoughts and feeling, and your idea and emotion, your desire and imagination. You avoid all conflict between your desires and imagination by entering into a drowsy, sleepy state that brings all effort to a minimum. The conscious mind is submerged to a great extent when it is in a sleepy state. The best time to impregnate your subconscious is just prior to sleep. The reason for this is that the highest degree of outcropping of the subconscious occurs just before going to sleep and just after we awaken. In this state, the negative thoughts and imagery that tend to neutralize your desire and so prevent acceptance by your subconscious mind no longer presents themselves. He goes on, he says, a young woman named Shara G came to me close to despair. She was involved in a lengthy, complicated lawsuit that had been through one postponement after another with no end in sight. Her mental imagery, however, was full of failure, loss, bankruptcy, and poverty. The result was just as Cooey would have predicted. Her imagination prevailed over her desire, and the suit dragged on and on. At my suggestion, Shara put herself in a sleepy, drowsy state at nighttime, at night at bedtime, then began to imagine the best possible solution. She put herself into a state of feeling it to be the best of her ability. She knew that the image in her mind had to agree with her heart's desire. As she became drowsy, she began to imagine vividly as possible a meeting with a lawyer, and the lawsuit was settled. She heard herself ask him a question about the outcome and listening to the explanation. She heard herself telling over and over again, telling him the case, or saying the case had been settled out of court. This is a perfectly harmonious solution. During the day, when fear thoughts came in her mind, Shara would run in her mental videotape in the meeting with her lawyer and complete with words and gestures. She imagined his smile, his mannerism, the sound of his voice, the specific words he used. She did this so often, so faithfully, her fears were counteracted before she even knew they had tried to come into her mind. At the end of a few weeks, her attorney called and he confirmed that what she had imagined was and feeling are as true. The lawsuit was settled, and she knew the settlement was one she could accept as harmonious. So there is an example right there of a prayer being answered. And it's
Yeah, amazing.
and Joseph Murphy talks about it being applied in a scientific way.
Mm-hmm. So we can actually see how it works and then use it for ourselves. And that's a perfect example of the law of non-resistance, right? Because she worked with what she had and relaxed into it, and then that's when the answers will flow to you. That's when you're going to get your downloads and your understanding and make things work for you.
Yes, exactly. So now we're on to chapter 9, and the title of this is How to Use the Power of Your Subconscious Mind for Wealth. If you're having difficulties, financial difficulties, if you're trying to make ends meet, it means you've not convinced your subconscious mind you always have plenty and some to spare. You know how you know men and women who work a few hours a week and make fabulous sums of money. They do not strive or slave hard. Do not believe the story that the only way you can become wealthy is by the sweat of your brow and hard labor. It is not so. The effortless way of life is the best. Do the thing you love to do and do it with joy and the thrill of it. And he goes on, he talks about an executive in Los Angeles at that time who earned a six-figure salary, which this book, I don't know, was probably written in the early 1900s. So that was a good salary back then. And he would go on like a 9-month cruise the rest of the time. So he only worked a very small amount of time, and then he would cruise the rest of the time. And he even said that there were probably a lot of, or not a lot, but there were other people in the company who actually knew more about the business than he did, and maybe they were even more dedicated, but they didn't think and believe and have the identity that he had, and knowing that it was worthy of it. So that's why they didn't have it.
Hmm. Yeah, I mean, for the masses to make that shift in paradigm and belief that the less you work, the more you earn, right? Because even from if you go into school, right? See my kids being taught it, I'm like, oh no, no, like don't say that, oh, great job, you work so hard on that. And I'm like, no, like I don't want my kids coming up with that belief, right? I want them to understand that yeah, it doesn't have to be when you're more in harmony and in praxis and doing what you love, right? It's a joy for it, but to get rid of this idea that we have to work hard for something is false, right? It's we work wasn't, you know, well, what is it? We weren't made for work. It was made for us so that we find fulfillment in it. But there's that book, like what is it, the 4-hour work week or something like that, and
And there's
it's
also quantum phys or you know, Price
quantum.
Pritchard.
The quantum leap, yes, yeah, and again, it's the hardest part of that, right? The ideas are simple. The hardest part is just the paradigm that you're gonna have that tug of war with in the beginning when you are redoing your beliefs, right? Because we have to learn, unlearn, and then relearn, and that's how we become the advancing person.
Yes, yes. And a huge part is building a bigger identity of yourself. Yes, you're worthy, and build it. That's what Alexis and I do, is help you build that bigger identity. Everybody is worthy of it. You're worthy of anything that you desire.
Hmm.
And
That's
so
a good
that's what,
point.
yeah, exactly.
Yeah, it's that's what the other thing you're going to face is that self-image, thinking you do have to work hard because you're not worthy enough to work just a couple hours and have a great income and travel the world most of your time, live a life of leisure and opulence.
Exactly. Why your affirmations for wealth fail. He says, I have talked to many people over the years who their usual complaint is, I have said for weeks and months, I'm wealthy, I'm prosperous, and nothing has happened. I discovered that when they said, I am prosperous, I'm wealthy, they felt within that they were lying to themselves. One man told me, I have affirmed that I am prosperous until I'm tired. Things are now worse. I knew when I said the statement it was obviously not true. His statements were rejected by the conscious mind, and the opposite of what he outwardly affirmed had claimed was made manifest. Your affirmation succeeds best when it is specific and when it does not produce a mental conflict or argument. The statements made by this man made matters worse because they suggested his lack. Your subconscious mind accepts what you really feel to be true, not idle words. The dominant idea of belief is always accepted by the subconscious mind. So you have to know that you're worthy. You just have to accept that you're worthy and build the belief and the faith. And how would you really feel? You have to think. Bob always said, think. Use your imagination. How would you feel if your goal were reached? Well, everybody has the ability to do that. They just have to use their imagination and their will to focus on it. And then from that state of being, man, I would feel exuberant. I would be extremely happy. I would be confident. I would be calm if my goal were reached. That's how
Mm-hmm.
you have to feel. That's the state of being.
Right. That's excellent.
How to avoid mental conflict. The following is the ideal way to overcome the conflict for those who have the difficulty. Make the practical statement frequently, particularly prior to sleep. By day and by night, I am being prospered in all my interests. This affirmation will not arouse any argument because it does not contradict your subconscious mind's
Mm.
impression of financial lack.
That's so good. I love
So
that.
I know I do too. Um, and then he goes on, he says, your subconscious mind gives you compound interest. To him that hath the feeling of wealth, more wealth shall be added. To him that hath the feeling of lack, more lack shall be added. Your subconscious multiplies and magnifies whatever you deposit in it. Every morning as you awaken, deposit thoughts of prosperity, success, wealth, and peace. Dwell upon these concepts. Busy your mind with them as often as possible. These constructive thoughts will find their way as deposits into your subconscious mind and bring forth abundance and prosperity. And again, you have to do this for I mean, you can't just do it once or twice or for 2 weeks and
No.
expect something dramatically to happen because it doesn't work that way. It took us forever to get to the point that we are. So it's going to take time to build new belief and build a new paradigm.
Mm-hmm.
Trying to make
And
it. Oh, go ahead.
sorry, I was just gonna, and it's a continuing process too. It's because those paradigms, they're always gonna be trying to come back up. So it's just this continual practice in this material.
Right. And we all have good paradigms too. You can have a good paradigm
Yeah.
around like your health. You can be very fit and healthy and make healthy choices, but you might not be so prosperous in your financial part of life, or maybe attracting a partner. So you can be really good and have a great paradigm in one area and not the other. And many people do. But that's no judgment. It just means something that you have to work on. Trying to
Right.
make ends meet in the real cause. There are many people who claim that they are always trying to make ends meet. They seem to have a great struggle to meet their obligations. Have you ever listened to their conversation? In many instances, their conversation runs along this vein. They're constantly condemning those who have succeeded in life and who have raised their heads above the crowd. Perhaps they are saying, oh, that fellow has a racket. He is ruthless. He is a crook. That is why they lack. They are constantly condemning the thing they claim to desire and want. The reason they speak critically of their more prosperous associates is because they are envious and covetous of the other's prosperity. The quickest way to cause wealth to take wings and fly away is to criticize and condemn others who have more wealth than you. So, and I think a lot of people are guilty of that.
Oh
Um,
yeah.
and yeah, in the past, I remember doing that too. And it takes a lot of time to recondition yourself to say, oh no, I am grateful for that person's wealth. I wish them more wealth and more wealth to me. So yeah,
Mhm.
and even if they are doing something illegal or something that's against society, universal laws take care of that. It's not your problem to
Exactly.
worry about.
Right. Yes. Let that praise bless them and let that's between them and God. God, the grand overall designer, that will be taken care of. Your job is to remain in the highest vibration of love and abundance.
Exactly. Yes. So wonderful. Okay, so as he's moving on and he's talking, this is interesting because the last part of the chapter he titles it "Sleep and Grow Rich."
Mm.
As you go to sleep at night, practice the following technique. Repeat the word wealth quietly, easily, and with feeling. Do this over and over again, just like a lullaby. Lull yourself to sleep with the word wealth. You should be amazed at the results. Wealth should flow to you in avalanches of abundance. This is another example of the magic power of your subconscious mind. So, a lot of us have what's called old money wounds. If you grew up in a family that lacked or said, money doesn't grow on trees or those type of sayings and it went into your subconscious mind, you can have those old ideas that are built into your subconscious. So you have to work on overcoming those. You have to heal those money wounds in order to progress and move onward and upward in your financial wealth. And so a lot of us have that. Even if you grew up in a family that wasn't poverty stricken, even if that you were, mid-level or upper mid-level, you still have some of those money wounds that need to be healed.
Yeah, I mean, this is just, it's great it's so simple again, right? And I used this, just what he said, the wealth, and it was a success of the one book I read. I have a new copy now, but it was part of how I got to my first six figures was reading this. And I had so many things going against me that I could have given my attention to, but refused and instead made a decision to follow this. And I'm so glad I did. And then that brings you back to, well, the only thing we can control is ourselves, right? And it's controlling ourselves through these ideas and teachings and working with the laws and just doing it. And that's where you get the results. And you stay in that knowing throughout your day. Whenever those lack of limitation thoughts come up, you just flip it like a light switch and you go back to these positive affirmations and ideas that you're wanting in your life.
Exactly. Very well said. And I noticed you said you made a decision. Bob always talked about decision. People think they make a decision or they say, I'll sleep on it or I'll think about it. That's making a decision for procrastination. The
Hmm.
opposite of decision is procrastination. A lot of people don't understand that or realize that. And that's not a good thing.
No,
Saying, yes, if this is going to grow me, I do it. If it's not going to grow me, no. It's that
great.
simple, but it's not easy.
Yeah, that's really good.
So we are done with those two chapters and we're wrapping it up. And again, if you want to grow with us and move on to express yourself more fully, you need to reach out to us because that's what we do, Alexis and I.
That's right, Susan. That's great. Don't be on the fence, right? You can't have one foot here and one foot there. Jump in, make the decision to work with us. It will change your life. We're looking forward to hearing from you, and we can't wait to help you grow bigger and better. And thank you for listening to the Frequencies Shift. We are so happy you're here and grateful, and we will see you next time. Take care, everybody.
Bye bye.
All right.